Hello, everybody. Merry Christmas. I'm making this, I don't know what time it is. Maybe it's between 6, 7, 8 p.m., somewhere in that range. I think it's before 8 p.m. So a little earlier than usual, but today's a little earlier than usual because I am planning on getting in a super day of workouts, sort of like a marathon day of workouts, or even a quote unquote ultra marathon day of workouts. But so I got in one really long workout already, and I'm gonna get in another one. I'm gonna start another one before midnight. And it's also going to be like a little marathon day of videos because I'm going to make one video, which I'm making right now, and then another one early Thursday morning, that like around 2 a.m. or so on the 26th of December. So I'll let you know how my second workout goes, assuming all goes well and according to plans. But there's a lot going on. So there's this big super workout thing going. And then even after that, I'll get in another workout later on the 26th before I go into work. So I'm doing a lot of work these days. I'm working 10 out of 11 days in a row. So I just worked 6 days in a row. And then I'm having a day off today for Christmas. And then I'm going to work another 4 days in a row. And then I'll have Monday and Friday off next week and the week after. So I'll also plan on making videos for those days, but they'll probably be early in the morning, like after midnight on the days after. But anyway, I've got two jokes for you right now. So they are holiday season jokes. So I would ask you, which one do you want me to tell first, the Christmas joke or the Thanksgiving joke? Well, let's tell them in the order that these holidays fall. So even though today is Christmas, I'll tell that one second because it's a bit longer. So I'll start with the Thanksgiving joke. So there was this family down in Texas, and if you're not living in the United States and you don't know where Texas is or what it's like, it's a very hot climate. It's a hot and dry state of the United States. So there was a family down in Texas, and they were very poor, and they didn't have a lot of money. And Thanksgiving Day rolled around, and when Thanksgiving came, they realized they really didn't have any money to spare to buy any food or anything nice for Thanksgiving. In fact, they didn't have any food at all. So they did have a frying pan and some cooking oil, and they had some matches, and they were able to gather up some firewood so they could start a fire outside, and they could cook something. And so, they had a spatula to turn whatever they were going to cook, and they had a knife to cut food up, whatever. But they didn't have any food. They also didn't have any food. Not only did they not have any money, but they didn't have any food. But it was Thanksgiving Day, and that's a famous day in America for eating. So what were they going to do? Well, they just happened to have a pistol and some bullets. So they thought, well, why don't we try to shoot a turkey or a deer or some kind of nice wildlife to give us something to eat, and we can just cook it in the frying pan. We'll cut it up, and that'll be great. So they thought, okay, let's go hunting, right? So they went out in the country. They were going all over the countryside, and they couldn't find any deer. They couldn't find any turkey, and they were waiting around here and there, and nothing ever came around. So they were about to give up. It was getting later in the day, and finally they saw a rattlesnake. Well, you see rattlesnakes in Texas. So they shot the rattlesnake in the head with a pistol, and then after they shot it in the head, it was easier to kill without being dangerous because rattlesnakes are poisonous snakes, and if they bite you, it's bad news. So they also didn't have any medical insurance. They were trying to save money, so they didn't have any medical insurance, and they didn't want to get bit by a rattlesnake. But they were able to kill the rattlesnake without getting bit. And so they cut up the rattlesnake into pieces, and they put it in the frying pan, and they started a fire, and they cooked it in the oil, and they had a really nice Thanksgiving with cooked fried rattlesnake in the frying pan. So what do you call that? Fangsgiving, Fangsgiving. Okay, Fangsgiving. All right, so joke number 2, and I made that first one up completely all by myself, by the way. So the second one I made up too. So there was this guy, and he wanted to go ice fishing on Christmas Day. So he was living up north in the United States, like probably near the Canadian border, and it was really cold. And he was near a lake that was really frozen deep, and it was really safe to go out on to do his ice fishing. So he was planning it out. He was at home, getting ready to go. So he had to get his hatchet because he needed to chop a hole in the ice. So he got his hatchet, and he got his ice fishing gear, and he put it all in his car. And he was going to go drive over to this lake and go fishing. Well, as you know, a lake is a low area because it's got to be low to collect all the water in the area to make it a lake. So it's a low area. So he was driving, and when he got near the lake, he had to drive downhill because, again, the lake is a low area, and he's driving downhill to the lake. So he's driving downhill. He's getting near the lake, and the road is fine. The traction's fine. It is winter. There's snow on the ground, but all of a sudden, there's ice on the road as he gets near the lake. Really near the lake, there's ice on the road. So he doesn't see the ice soon enough in time to stop for it. So he's trying to stop, but he can't stop in time. And suddenly he's driving on the ice, and his car starts slipping, and he starts to fishtail. He's correcting for the slipping, and he's going back and forth, and finally he just flies off the road and lands in this big ditch. So his car's in the ditch, but it's upright, and he thinks, okay, I'm just going to drive out of this ditch, So he gets ready. He's trying to drive out of the ditch, and he guns the engine, and the wheels are spinning, and the snow's flying, and the ice is flying, and after a while the dirt's flying backwards behind the spinning wheels. But unfortunately, he can't drive out of the ditch, and so he's thinking, oh man. And his transmission, it was an old car, and the transmission had been really kind of treated roughly, and so he'd been hard on the transmission, and it was almost shot. It was about ready to go, and all of a sudden the transmission just goes out, and now he's really, really stuck in the ditch because the wheels won't even turn now. He just blew his transmission right there doing all that aggressive, stuff trying to drive out of the ditch. So what does he do? He has a cell phone, and he calls a towing service company. Says, "Just hey, can you come here? Tow me out of this. Tow me out of this ditch. I got to have Christmas. I don't need to go ice fishing anymore." Heck with that, but just please get me out of this ditch, so I can go home and enjoy my Christmas at home. So the towing company comes, and as they're driving up, there's two men in the tow truck. They see him in the ditch, and they park the tow truck, and what do you think they said? They said to him, "We winch you a Merry Christmas." So they winched him out of the ditch with the winch on the tow truck. So we winch you a Merry Christmas. But now, let me just ask you, I want you to think for a minute to yourself, what's wrong with this joke? All right. So there's a trick to it. So it's not really possible. Okay. So I'm going to explain it. I'm going to give you like 2 seconds more to think. So what's wrong with this joke? 1001, 1002. Okay. Time's up. So here's the paradox. The guy was on the ice. He was fishtailing. He flew off the road. He went into the ditch. Along comes the tow truck. How are they going to get him out of the ditch when the road is covered with ice? They're not going to have any traction either. First of all, it won't even be safe for them to drive down any further to get to where he is in the ditch. But even if they could like had bags of sand on the tow truck and spread it out in front of them so they could creep along, or they put like chains or even like tires with spikes on, or both on their truck right there. They put them on and they drove down on the ice. They could get down to him maybe without slipping off the road themselves, but I don't think that's going to provide enough traction for them to pull him then out of the ditch with the tow truck. I mean, it's one thing to creep along at like maybe 5 miles an hour or whatever they had to do to get down there. If they put something on the road ahead of them, maybe they had chains or ice spikes or both on their tires when they got there, and they threw sand ahead of them on the road, whatever they did, ice melter. But honestly, I don't think they were going to get him out of the ditch with all that ice on the road. So that's the paradox with that joke. Anyway, hope you enjoyed that and it gave you something to think about. I do have more to say, and I'm going to try to make another video maybe by around 2 o'clock in the morning. So it's kind of back-to-back videos this week, but I did work on my day off. That was like day number 5 out of my 6 days in a row before I finally had Christmas off. So that's why I didn't make another video earlier this week. I usually try to make one, at least 2 a week, one each on each of my days off, but I will check you all out. I will make another video later, and Merry Christmas. Enjoy yourselves. Have a super great time. Thank you very much.